live. Hi, Brenden. Hi, everyone. My name is Harjeet Rathore. This is Jai with Realtor Jeet. And today we have Brenden, the founder of Master Talk. And he is a wonderful, great friend that I did not pick up from the streets. I met Brenden, Brenden, when did we meet? About
56 days ago, but who's counting?
Okay, there we go. We met through one of our mutual friends, David. Oh my gosh, David, I'm sorry, I forgot your last name.
Brian.
David Bryan. And David is awesome. He's somebody that I've been learning from through our Go Giver Success Alliance as well. And when I met Brenden, he is a master communicator. And I was just so impressed with his presentation, his workshop, and I wanted to share it with my friends as well of how great Mr. Brenden Kumarasamy is. And this is something from his site that I really loved, and I want to quote him. Mastering the art of communication, it should be seen as something to look forward to rather than a burden that must be overcome. Because a lot of people think that talking in front of people or presenting in front of people is a burden, which you're right, it shouldn't be. So, Brenden, please introduce yourself.
Thanks, Harjeet. Appreciate you having me on. So, hi everyone. My name is Brenden Kumarsamy. I'm the founder of Master Talk. Master Talk is a YouTube channel I started to help the world master the art of communication and public speaking. And they also have an executive coaching practice where I train execs and entrepreneurs on how to become top 1% communicators in their industry.
That is awesome. So, how did you, Brenden? One of the first questions I wanted to ask you is, how did this start?
Yeah, Harjeet. It actually started in university. So, when I was in uni, I used to do these things called case competitions. Think of it like professional sports, but for nerds. So while other guys my age were playing rugby or basketball or baseball or something else really dangerous that I'm clearly not equipped to do, as you can tell by looking at me, what I did instead is I did professional sports but for nerds. So I did presentations competitively. So for 3 years, I presented hundreds of times, coached dozens of people on how to speak, and I accidentally developed a skill on how to coach other people on how to speak. And that's what ultimately led to Master Talk, the YouTube channel, and the coaching practice a few years later, because a lot of the information I was sharing with the students wasn't available online for free. That's what led to Master Talk and what it is today.
Yeah, and it's so impressive. I love you go follow Brenden on YouTube, Master Your Talk. You have 17,000 followers, and you said something interesting on your website as well, um, about one of your good friends talking about you cannot help people individually. You can't help a large group individually. So it led you to the YouTube and videos, and now you're helping over 17,000 people. How did this happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key, Harjeet, was every big vision starts with a small step.
Mhm.
So for me, I mean, I started Master Talk right there, right? My mom's couch in my basement, and then over time, one subscriber led to two, two led to four, 8, 16. They just kept going up. But I think the key was persistent and consistency, right? So I was very persistent. I started Master Talk 3 years ago, and I've been coaching for 6 years, interestingly enough. And every week, as I was posting a video, the first year, I wasn't really trying to make this the biggest YouTube channel ever.
Mhm.
I was just really practicing on camera, getting really good at speaking, like on a podcast or on video. And then after a year, I hired my best friend to do all my production for me. And that's when my YouTube channel really started taking off. And then the last piece was Clubhouse. So I got Clubhouse, for those who don't know, is like a social audio app, and I got on Clubhouse really early. I was probably like user number 500,000. And me and a couple of my friends, that's how I met David Bryan and a lot of other people, we just like bled on Clubhouse. I probably played Clubhouse. I spoke on Clubhouse like 10, 12, 13 hours a day. And I was still working at IBM at the time. So I was just working a lot, and that's what led to the explosive growth.
That is amazing. And you know what? It is. I like that word play because when you're having fun, it doesn't seem like it's work. And building through that consistency is, like you said, it's key. And I wish that's something that I started 4 years ago because I opened up my YouTube channel 4 years ago and did nothing with it.
You're still young. The night is still young, Harjit.
It is. I'm 12. Apparently, I'm 27, so I'm good.
It's true.
And so that's great. Now, Brenden, can you explain to us why it's so important? And I love the value that you add to the YouTube community, and to everybody that you speak to. Like wherever you are, you're adding value in effective communication. And why is this so important? Why do you feel this is so important?
Yeah, for sure, Harjit. I would say for me, communication is everything, right? It's not even just about the presentation we deliver. It's the way that we talk to our family. It's the
Hmm.
way that we meet strangers on the street. It's the way that we indulge in new experiences when we travel, when we meet new people. Every interaction we have is communication. And I'm always proud to say that the last time me and my little sister got into a fight was over 10 years ago. I don't remember when it was the last time. Same thing with my mom. And I live with them every single day. Very peaceful. Like we never have any fight. Why is that? Because we're all great communicators. Communication is not just a vehicle for presenting ideas and amplifying them, but it's also a vehicle to make your life better and to live a fulfilled life. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because the most important skill in the world, communication, no one's teaching it for free in a practical, effective way. So I thought I'd be one of the first people to do it.
That is amazing. That is awesome. It's 10 years, not one fight with your sister, because you've learned how to communicate and effectively express whatever whatever it may be. That is
Got
awesome.
it.
I have two kids. Three. I have three kids.
You forgot about the third one. You're like, two? Was it two, three?
I'm thinking about the fights with the two teenagers. So these two kids, they're always or constantly arguing with each other. And this is something that I tell them. You've got to effectively communicate with each other what's going on. And I'll sit back and watch what's happening because you've got to let them learn to deal with that communication gap and see if they can learn from it. So after it's all said and done, we talk separately, then we talk together and see how we can progress moving forward. That's something we actually have been practicing in our household for almost a year. She's 16 now and he's 17. So I feel like it's so important to teach children so early on. And now when I look at my 4-year-old, because she's learning so early, she can communicate effectively and let us know what's going on. Yeah, she's going to cry as toddlers do, but I feel like she's more mature than my other two were when they were 4 or 5. And so that is so important. The key is to learn early, and you could avoid fights for decades or arguments, and keep peace in the house. I really love that, Brenden.
Thank you,
So,
Harjit.
you're welcome. So, can you explain or teach us something that I've learned from you that I loved? Is your exercises. You talk about 3 exercises, and if you wish to talk about all 3 or whichever one you want to pick on.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to, Harjit. So the first one is called the random word exercise. This is probably the easiest thing that you can practice in your communication on a daily basis. You don't need a practice partner. You don't even need to record yourself. Just doing it will make you better. Which is you pick a random word and you give a presentation out of thin air. Whether that word is pistachios, whether that word is t-shirt, headset, hair, right? Doesn't really matter. And then over time, what this does is it improves your resiliency as a speaker. Because if you can talk about something you have no expertise in, When you go back into your life, your presentations at work or in corporate are a lot easier because you actually know what the subject matter is. And I'm happy to demonstrate this as well if you want.
Of course, I would love that.
Sure, give me any
Second
word.
word, sleep.
Sleep, sure. You know, in life, people ask me what's missing. And some people say money. Other people go health, maybe food. But I'd say the one thing most of us are missing is just a little bit more sleep. Matt Walker, famous TED talker, always says that we need 8 hours of sleep every day. 8 hours seems like a long time because it is. Most of us can barely get 7, not 6. And if you got all the priorities like you do, Harjeet, you probably are getting 3. So we're all running across the clock. But the truth of the matter is sleep is what allows us to perform when we're awake. So always think about what are your long-term goals and objectives, and how does sleep play a role into making sure that you're successful in each one of those pillars of life, whether it's your health, whether it's your finance goals, your career goals. Sleep is the vehicle that allows you to make sure that every time you wake up ready to go, productive, and to take on the world.
I love it. And
Ooh.
I can't help it. I have Matt Walker's book right next to me.
See, that's a whole other level. It's okay. We can't cover that in this episode. Is how do you read other people's minds? It's kind of a different.
That's crazy. So that's awesome. I know I had the word sleep in front of me. So I said sleep, and then you mentioned Matt Walker. That is great. Now
Let's
you
just say it wasn't an accident.
no. But this exercise you do this daily. Is that
So I've done this daily for many years. I don't do it daily anymore because now I've done it 2,000 times. But
okay?
I definitely recommend people do it, and I still have to do it anyways. Every time on a podcast, I
Mhm.
pretty much have to do it to show that I'm credible. But the point I want to drive for people, Harjeet, is it's not that hard, right? You just pick a random word. I don't know why I think this is like my sponsors, pistachios. The point is you start doing this exercise, you'll sound like this. Glasses are really helpful, and look, you're not really good at it. That's okay. But then as you do it more and more, you start to develop more of a repetition, and then the random word exercise transitions from it being a chore to it being fun. And then when you get into that place where it's fun, then you'd start to do wacky stuff like I just did with sleep.
Yeah, that was great what you did with sleep, and I'm just still so surprised. Like you just mentioned Matthew Walker. Like, okay, he's in everybody's he's in everybody's household.
He's just
I love
walking.
that. He's just walking in everybody's house. So sleep is important. It is. That's something that I've been actually working on because that is something that's missing in my life is sleep, and so it's something that I'm working on. And so that's great. Now the I love that you said that the purpose of these exercises is to master and build a skill set on presenting on anything. So then when you go back to wherever what the thing that you practice or the thing that you're good at or your job or me as a real estate agent or if there's any other real estate agents out there listening, this is something great that you could practice when you're going before you go into your listing appointment. So now you have different things in somebody's house, different structures, different decorations or decor. Now you can just pick at that and talk about it for a minute to two, and you could build a credible and authentic relationship with your client. So that's what I get out of it when you tell me this.
Oh yeah, like the way I think about it, going back to being a top 1% communicator in industry, what differentiates the top real estate agents, let's say, from everyone else, every other real estate in that industry. Take Ryan Serhant as an example, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's probably in a good example of someone in the top 1%. of that industry, is it's all about saying what is that person willing to do that nobody else is willing to do.
Yeah.
Like Ryan's got a full production team for his YouTube channel. He spends a lot of time on video, on camera. He's pushing himself. The random word exercise, the same thing. Let's say there's 100 real estate agents who listen to that exercise. Maybe 5 to 10 of them are willing to do it. And out of those 5 or 10, Harjit, maybe 5 of them are willing to do it on a daily basis. We'll invest in a speech coach. We'll go to the next level. So yeah, that's the key, is always do what everyone else is willing to do, and you'll get the results that no one else will have.
That is awesome. That's great. And so what are the what's another exercise that you work on?
Yeah, one exercise I like a lot that applies especially for real estate agents, but really anyone, is
Mm.
an exercise I call the question drill. So the question drill is proactively predicting what are the questions that someone will ask you and finding answers to them before those questions get asked. So I'll give you an example. If I was training a real estate agent as an example, I would get a bunch of people who are really mean and not very nice and just start asking that real estate question, a bunch of questions that they wouldn't expect. Like, why is this house so expensive? Oh, I hate this, blah, blah, blah. Like, just ask them a bunch of questions so that they become bulletproof. Because at some point, maybe it takes an hour, maybe it takes a few hours. At some point, you're going to run out of questions to ask that person. So what happened with podcasting? It's not that like I'm special or anything, Harjit. I'm far from it. It's just I've done so many. I've
Mhm.
been asked these questions so many times that at some point you kind of go, well, there's nothing Harjit can ask me that I don't have an answer to, unless she asks me something completely random, like what's your favorite type of pizza? That might catch me off guard. But anything related to communication, I'll be like, yeah, I know this. So one recommendation I have to implement the question drill is go back to your profession, your area of expertise. Sit down with yourself and simply ask, what is the hardest question that I can ask somebody else? So let's say you're doing a question drill on me. The question for the audience would be, what is the hardest question you can ask me about communication and public speaking that you think I don't have the answer to? So when you start thinking along those ways, you'll find questions.
So it's what is the hardest question I can ask myself?
Yeah, that. Or what is the hardest question you can ask me? Let's say as an example. Let's say we did this with each other. What is the hardest question you can ask Brenden that you feel Brenden doesn't have an answer to? That Brenden doesn't know the answer about public speaking. So what
Mm.
happens is you start to really think, what's a hard question I can ask Brenden? It's not usually how our brain is focused on. We're not focused on
Yeah.
that task. And then we start to do that. I'll do the same thing with you on real estate. We'll start writing each other a bunch of questions. We'll start to ask each other these questions and prepare each other. Like, let's say we're trying to sell a client or something. What are some of the questions that they're going to ask us? Let's prepare that in advance. So then when you get there and somebody asks you a question, you're not going, yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
one. It's a good one.
Good
It's
question.
good.
I'll get back
It's
to you.
good. That's good. No, you're just going to say, thank you so much for the question. Yeah, so based on this is what, like, you already have an answer because you've already thought of it. So that's the another piece.
Oh, that is awesome. That is really good advice. I know I just wrote that down because you did. I was like, what? Hold on a minute. Because you do now. The hardest questions I would say that we can get as real estate agents is really, it's like you cannot surprise us with COs or titles or anything that has to do with the house or any visible structural damage. But now, if they hide, like if they're hiding, well, they can't really hide the COs because we can order it from the town. Um, but that's a good thing. Now it's like, okay, if we get objections for COs, or if we get objections for, oh, there's not this in the house, or I need to clean my house, or I need to do this with my house. Okay, you need to clean your house. We got cleaners. Um, you need to take stuff out to move it, to clear it up. We've got movers for you. So we already know a solution for you prior to coming in because the goal is to serve you. And in order to serve you, we have to already have some solutions ready that are most common. That's a good question. That is.
Thank you.
So ask yourself, what is the hardest question I or the client can ask me, and then practice on that. That's amazing, Brenden. So you already gave you just Brenden and I have we have a inside joke. He throws golden temples at me. You just
Just
gave
catch it.
out
Just
two more.
catch.
So you gave out two golden nuggets. I love that. Now, what, Brenden, is why is it so important? I've had this for effective communication. We've already went through that. Now we're going into video stories. What is so important about video stories in today's day and age? And when I say video stories, I'm talking about our YouTube videos or stories on Instagram, and expressing who we are on video. Why do you feel that's so important?
Yeah, for sure, Harjeet. And what I would say to that is video is becoming a medium that allows us to express ourselves in a way that's sticky. So by sticky, I mean people recognize you on the street. People realize who you are when you show yourself on video versus when you have a blog or something. I'll give you an example. If I told someone I had a blog, most people's reaction would be like, "Cool, I'll check out the blog." They won't really read a blog. If I say I got a podcast, they might say, "Oh, cool. Let me go listen to it, subscribe." They might not check it out, they might will. But if I say I have a YouTube channel, they'll maybe go, "Oh, cool." And they'll go immediately to the YouTube channel because they're curious and they'll click one of the videos right away to see what the content looks like. And they're going to see me in a suit shop and say, "Oh, Brendan's a guy in a suit shop. Brendan's a communication coach. If I know anyone about communication who needs that and wants to invest in a coach, Brendan's the person." What's the difference between all three of these mediums? Is that the third one, it's a lot easier for me to take up what we call mind space in someone's brain. So, mind space simply means if you think about the word real estate, who's the first agent that comes to mind? If you think about a communication coach or public speaking, who's the first coach that comes to mind? And you always want to make sure that you're the person in first place because, and I always tell my clients this, nobody remembers second place.
Mm.
Okay. Okay. And I'll prove it to you. So, do you know who the world's fastest man is, Harjeet? He's won multiple Olympic Games, done really well. Any guesses?
World's fastest man?
Yeah, he's just won a bunch of Olympic Games in like running.
No.
Okay, have you ever heard of Usain Bolt?
I had his face in my head. I didn't have his name.
Okay, but you have his face, right? Usain Bolt. He's like this Jamaican guy. He's like
Yes.
running. You see, right?
Yep.
So even if you don't know his name, you know his face, which is like
Yeah.
already good. So now the question is, you know that the races he won, who got second place?
I don't know.
Exactly. Nobody remembers second place. That's the point. So video is just a way for you to think about how to leverage your brand. So for example, when I think about real estate agents, literally before I met you, anytime I thought real estate agent, it was always Ryan Serhant, always.
Hey, you
Because he's like
mentioned
fancy. Sorry?
him. You mentioned him.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I've already mentioned him once. And
you,
I mentioned him twice. And now what comes to mind is Ryan Serhant and you. But like that's it. Like I don't have any other real estate agents that I think of. And that's really the key, Harjeet, is video allows you to develop mind space in somebody's
mm,
mind and you're gonna get a lot of business from that long term.
that's amazing. And now video, this mind space with video, that applies to anything, not just real estate, not just communication coaching, but any industry that you can think of. Like, actually, when I think of Pepsi, I have Beyonce in my head because of that ad that she did. But that's the mind space that she took up when she signed up for Pepsi. and that was years ago. And so it's more like the advertising of yourself and your story, and people get to know who you are, who the real you are through the videos. So long
Exactly.
as you show yourself.
I think it's important. I don't think nothing's mandatory, Harjeet, but I would say, especially if you're in the game of business, you want to
Mhm.
take every advantage you can get. Right?
Yeah.
Especially with social, what's amazing is
Mhm.
social is the best vehicle now to do what I call show don't tell. You don't have to tell people anymore how good you are. You can just show them, which I think is magic. Because before, if you wanted to show people, you might have to pay to get them in the room.
Yeah.
You'd have to spend all this money on advertising. But now we have this wonderful tool called social media where I don't have to tell anyone that I'm a speech coach or how good I am of a speech. I can just show them my videos on YouTube. Be like, you be the judge of it. You tell me if what comes out of my mouth is good or not, and then we'll see after that, right? So I think
Yeah,
that's the magic.
it is. And definitely you're awesome because I've checked out your videos. I've taken a master class with you and learned so much. And I remember even the first time when I did a master class with you, I'm like, like, what do I do? And it's a good practice. It's a good practice. So thank you for. I am so grateful to have met you, and to learn from you. I learn so much from you every time we meet. And we
Likewise,
have lots of
Harjeet.
laughs doing it too.
You are the sun to my temple. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Now, can I ask you one question? I've asked you already a tons of questions, but the last question is how can we at Team Jeet and how can the audience who will be watching this be of service to you? How can we serve you?
For sure. Thanks, Harjeet. So two easy ways. Check out my free YouTube videos. That's called Master Talk. So all you have to do is type Master Talk in one word. You'll have access to all of that on YouTube. And if you
Master
want free, you got it, Master Talk. And if you want free coaching, come to one of my free trainings. All you have to do is go to rockstarcommunicator.com and you can register for one of those free trainings.
free training. Rockstar communicator?
Yep, rockstarcommunicator.com.
I can spell communicator. Communicator.com. There you go. So that is Brenden's website. Please do go to his website. Go for his training. I think your next one is December 10th. I'm already registered. And my good friends are registered as well. I've already told them. Register for this class is December 10th. And do you have any closing thoughts, Brenden? Because I'm so grateful that you gave us these 30 minutes that you gave us.
Of course, Harjit. Always a pleasure to serve. Yeah, closing thought would be a question. The question is, and I'd love for all of you to reflect on this, how would the world change if you were an exceptional communicator? So much around communication is negative. We think about stress, we think about anxiety, we think about ugh. But when we start to reframe that to wait a second, communication is the most important thing I'll learn in my life. It affects every facet, every bucket, from my relationships to my health to my presentation. Start to dream about your communication skills. How would the world change if you were an effective communicator? And once you start to rethink it and dream about how good of a communicator you'd be, rather than the next vacation that we're going to be going on, I think that is really the secret.
That is great. Thank you so much. Did you hear that, guys? How would the world change if you were an effective communicator? Don't think about the beach yet. think, about, think about the effective communication you can bring about to your world, your family's world, your friends' world, and the world. Thank you, Brenden. Have a great day, everyone.